I stood at the edge of the reception hall holding my son's hand, wearing the same blush dress my sister insisted I wear. I had paid for the cake, the flowers, the band playing on stage behind her. But when Vanessa saw me, she did not smile. She froze, and then, in front of 250 people, she turned to security and said I was not invited. Just like that, I was not family. My parents looked away. My brother fiddled with his cufflinks. No one said a word. I did not cry. I did not beg. I just walked out with Leo beside me, his small fingers curled into mine. What they did not know was that while they were laughing under string lights and clinking champagne flutes, I was logging in from my hotel room. I opened every account they never knew had my name on it. The credit cards, the mortgage, the trust, the insurance. I had built the walls they lived in, and I was done keeping them warm. Have you ever been pushed out by the people you spent your whole life holding together? If you have, you know exactly what I did next. That night, they lost me. Not because they pushed me out, but because I finally chose to stop standing in the shadows of a family that never once turned around to see me. Let me take you back a bit. Weddings bring out the best and worst in families. At least, that is what I told myself as I folded Leo's tiny khakis and collared shirt into our suitcase. My sister Vanessa was getting married in Savannah next weekend, and despite everything, I was going. I always showed up, even when they did not want me there. Even when they pretended I was not already the one holding everything together. I was 35, a single mom, and a business owner. But to my family, I was still the quiet one who had messed up early and never quite caught up. Vanessa, on the other hand, was the golden child at 37. She was polished, poised, and perfect. According to my mother, Vanessa had a gift for planning things, for being gracious, for making everyone feel welcome. I snorted softly to myself. I had read the group email she sent to the family last week. No +1s unless they were legally partnered. No kids at the ceremony. And guests should wear muted tones so as not to detract from the theme. When I replied asking if Leo could come just to the reception, she never wrote back. Vanessa did not want me there. That much had been clear since she got engaged. Every message I got felt like a reminder that I was not part of the real family club. I was the footnote. The girl who had a baby out of wedlock, the sister who lived in Austin, ran some arts and crafts business, and did not post curated photos of wine nights. They did not know that Clay and Coast, the digital marketplace I built from scratch, had crossed 8 figures in revenue last year. They did not know I had built a net worth of $38 million. They did not know that I paid off my parents' mortgage under a fake church donor program, or that I was the reason Caleb, my older brother, got to walk out of law school debt-free. I did not tell them because they never asked, and because I was tired of performing. This wedding, though, it tested me. Back in February, I got a call from the venue's finance coordinator. She said they were having issues verifying the original sponsor's payment method, and the planning timeline was tight. When I saw the numbers and how far behind Vanessa was, I made a decision. I did not want to see my parents embarrassed, so I had my attorney set up a shell holding company to quietly fund the rest of the wedding. Vanessa never knew. She thought a local donor came through. I thought maybe doing that would smooth things over, that she would feel some kind of gratitude, even if she did not know it was me. She did not. A week later, she sent me a dress code and suggested I choose something dusty rose or beige, so I would not stand out in pictures. Leo was not even mentioned. I zipped the suitcase shut and took a breath. Leo was in the living room, curled up on the rug with his sketch pad. "Are we going to the wedding, Mom?" he asked. "We are," I said, kneeling beside him. "Just for the weekend. Then we will come home and do something way more fun." Later that night, checking emails for my business, a notification stopped me cold. It was from the catering company handling Vanessa's wedding. Final invoice reminder, unpaid balance remaining. The invoice was for $52,000, payment due in 72 hours. The billing contact was my shell company. I scrolled through the payment history. The previous deposits were all paid on time by me, but this last payment had bounced back because I had forgotten to approve it manually. My stomach twisted. I had not meant to forget, I had just been busy. But staring at the screen, I realized something strange. I was not in a rush to fix it. Vanessa had spent months acting like this wedding was her victory lap. She had made it seem like every detail came from her perfect sense of taste and her carefully balanced credit score. No one knew she had not paid for a single thing since March. Suddenly, I was not sure I wanted to be invisible anymore. The wedding could go on without me, but the truth had waited long enough. Still, the next morning, guilt crept in. If I did not pay, it would be a mess. People would notice. My parents would panic. Vanessa would explode. I did not owe them anything, not anymore. Still, I found myself opening my banking app. I confirmed the transfer. $52,000, the last of it. The balance was now zero. The wedding would go on without a hitch, and no one would know that the entire thing had been propped up by the woman no one wanted in the pictures. Savannah was humid in that particular way that clung to your skin. Leo and I arrived at the estate late Friday afternoon for the welcome dinner. The venue was a historic white-columned mansion, sitting smugly under the Georgia sun. Inside, the seating chart was displayed on an easel, and it was easy to spot the pattern. Immediate family up front, close friends in the middle. Way in the back, a row of tables near the catering entrance, was my name. Chloe Collins, table 16. Tucked neatly among second cousins and plus ones. I did not say a word. Later that evening, as the welcome dinner began, Leo and I sat at our table while servers brought out tiny plates of hand-twisted pasta. Leo quietly unwrapped a small pack of cookies I brought from home. He was doing his best, trying to sit up straight and use his napkin like I taught him. Across the room, Vanessa floated between tables, laughing loudly, looking perfect and unbothered. Until Leo knocked over his water. It was a small glass, but it tipped sideways onto the white tablecloth, splashing over his cookies and the edge of the plate. I reached to grab it, dabbing quickly with my napkin. "It is okay," I whispered to him. "Accidents happen." "What happened?" Vanessa's voice cut through the music. She was already walking toward us, her expression tight, her smile frozen. I stood up. It was nothing. Just a little spill. Vanessa's eyes flicked from the soaked tablecloth to the water dripping off the side of the table, then to Leo, who was now hiding his face. "This is exactly why I did not want kids at this event," she said, loud enough for 3 nearby tables to turn and look. "No offense, Chloe, but this is the kind of distraction we have been trying to avoid." My cheeks burned, but I kept my voice even. "He is 7. He spilled a glass of water. That is all." She tilted her head, her tone sugary now. "I think it is best if you go. Tonight is supposed to be seamless. You are not even staying for the ceremony, right?" People were watching. I picked up Leo's jacket and my purse. "We will go." Vanessa was not done. As I turned to walk away, she raised her voice. "Actually, you know what? Let us make this simple. You are not on the guest list tomorrow anyway. You are not welcome. Security." She did not shout it. She did not have to. One of the staff members looked toward her, then toward me. The silence in the room was deafening. No one moved. No one spoke. Not Caleb, not my parents. They just sat there. Leo clung to my side, confused and embarrassed. I stood there for one more breath, then nodded at the staff member. "It is fine. We are leaving." I did not look back. Under the dull glow of the hotel hallway lights, Leo's small footsteps echoed beside mine. He did not speak, neither did I. When we reached our room, he crawled onto the bed and pulled the blanket up over his head. I stood in the center of the room, staring at nothing. My ears were still ringing from Vanessa's voice. Not on the guest list. Not welcome. Security. I opened my laptop. The screen lit up instantly. Confirmations for the catering setup, the ceremony, the dinner. Paid in full. Everything smooth. Everything seamless. Everything built on my silence. I stared at the numbers. $52,000 for the full-course dinner and reception. I had written every check so my parents could save face, so Vanessa could pretend her lifestyle came with an actual income. I had done it out of habit, out of guilt, out of a deeply ingrained reflex to clean up after everyone else. But the truth was uglier. I was the scaffolding holding up the whole structure while they smiled for photos. I clicked open a new tab and pulled up the contact form for the event catering team. I typed slowly to the events manager. Please be advised that the final payment scheduled for Saturday's reception is no longer authorized. Do not proceed with the morning charge. Due to unforeseen circumstances, our partnership with the Collins wedding has been terminated. I read it twice, then hit send. It felt like exhaling for the first time in years. The truth was, I did not owe them a clean exit. Not after tonight. Not after being erased in the middle of a room I paid for. Let them scramble. Let them taste a fraction of the panic I had been swallowing for years. But I was not done quietly. I opened a new email to my attorney, Carmen. Please initiate a full review and freeze of the Collins family trust disbursements, effective immediately. I would like to revoke all automatic transfers and suspend access to the shared credit accounts. I also want to begin proceedings to dissolve the silent loan agreement with Vanessa's business. That trust had been funding my parents' mortgage for 4 years. The shell company I set up paid my father's health insurance premiums and my mother's car lease. They never once questioned why their bills seemed easier to cover than they should have been. Caleb's rent and gaming setup paid under a disguised research grant. Vanessa's failed startup loan, paid by me. None of it ever publicly credited to me. I thought invisibility would buy me love, or at least gratitude. Instead, it bought silence, disrespect, and dismissal. I hit send. Then I logged into my company administrator dashboard. I clicked into the family credit accounts. I suspended my mother's credit card. I terminated my father's vehicle stipend. I revoked Caleb's fund access. Lastly, I removed their names from the health insurance policy I had bundled them into for 6 years. The screen updated. All access removed. My fingers did not tremble. It felt clean. No more invisible support. No more hoping that if I gave enough, paid enough, loved enough, they might finally see me. The first call came at 6:42 the next morning. Vanessa's name flashed on my screen. I watched it vibrate, then go still. Then again and again. By 7:10, the family group chat lit up. Mom, Dad, Caleb, all suddenly very aware of my existence now that the music had stopped playing and no one knew where the cake was. Chloe, what is going on? This is your sister's big day. Tell me this is a mistake, fix it now. Each message was more frantic than the last, as if they were stacking bricks on a house that was already burning. I replied once, just one sentence. You might want to ask the person who told me to leave. I turned the phone off. Leo stirred in bed, rubbing his eyes. Are we going back home now? He asked. Yes, I said. Just you and me. By late morning, the hotel manager had called. The venue had tried to reach me, confused about the reception being canceled. I told them to direct all questions to the client. I was no longer involved. I was not involved in the emotional debt my family had kept me in for 35 years. We flew back to Austin. My attorney confirmed the financial cuts had been legally processed. I instructed her to completely dissolve the shell company. Once it was shut down, it was permanent. Then I opened my travel app and booked 2 one-way tickets to Maui for Leo and me. I had built a plan long before the wedding ever happened, because deep down, I had known this day would come. The first headline came on a Tuesday. Local bride sued for breach of contract after lavish wedding collapse. By Thursday, the news was everywhere. The venue had filed suit for unpaid services. The catering company was demanding over $45,000. The article outlined how the contract had been signed by a third-party holding company, which had since been dissolved. No one could reach the account holder. Vanessa's name was being dragged through local social media groups. People were posting screenshots of cancellation notices and gossip from servers who were let go mid-shift. But the damage was not limited to her. Another headline reported a local nonprofit director was being investigated for misuse of funds. That was Caleb. The tax authorities had opened a preliminary audit because someone flagged the large transfers he had been receiving monthly from shell accounts. My mother lost her insurance. Despite everything falling apart, no one called me. Not Vanessa, not Caleb, not even Dad. It was not that they respected my silence. It was that they had no idea where I was, and the version of me they used to lean on had evaporated. That weekend, something shifted. An old friend sent me a screenshot of a post from Joy Adams, our former neighbor back in Charleston. She was in her 70s now, retired and no nonsense. I have stayed quiet long enough, she wrote. You all need to know something about Chloe Collins. She wrote about the time my mom was sick and how my car was in their driveway every morning with groceries. She wrote about Caleb's vintage car and how the check had my handwriting on it. She wrote about how Vanessa's business only started because I co-signed the lease. That girl has more grace in her silence than most folks have in their entire lives, Joy wrote. You all built an empire on her back and blamed her for standing too tall. The comments were explosive. People were shocked. I did not comment. I did not even react. I just sat there looking at my screen, feeling a strange combination of release and sorrow. It was not about revenge. It was about someone finally seeing me without me having to hold up a sign. The morning light in Maui was a kind of quiet I had never known. A few weeks later, an envelope arrived. It had been forwarded from my old address. The handwriting was neat and controlled. It was from my mother. Chloe, I do not deserve a reply, she wrote. I let Vanessa speak for all of us, and in doing that, I failed you. You were the steady one, the strong one, the one who never asked for credit, but gave it anyway. I did not see it until you were gone. I folded the letter slowly. I did not cry. My chest ached, but it was just the feeling of being seen a little too late. Caleb called the next morning. I owe you an apology, he said quietly. We grew up thinking asking for help was weakness. I realize now you were not just helping, you were holding up the roof while we pretended to build the walls. I listened. I did not promise anything. I let his words hang between us. Later that afternoon, Vanessa sent me a text. Just us. Can we talk? I read the message once, then I put the phone face down on the table. I did not respond. I had simply outgrown the version of myself who needed that conversation to feel whole. Instead, I focused on my new life. My business had just signed a massive national distribution deal. Our revenue was breaking every projection. I called my attorney and established the Women's Shoreline Fund, a grant-based system funded by my $38 million fortune, designed to help single mothers create art and build businesses from nothing. One evening, Leo sat on the floor coloring. He handed me a smooth, spiral seashell he had found on the beach. It can be your logo, he said, beaming. So when people see it, they know it is you. They will know you are the good guy. I pressed the shell to my lips, realizing it was the best gift I had ever received. I used to think I had to be quiet to be safe, to be needed, to be seen. I used to think love meant sacrifice and that family meant debt. But none of that was true. I had chosen myself finally, not out of spite, but out of truth. Maybe you have been there too. Maybe you have stood quietly in the back of someone else's story, hoping they would turn and finally see you. Maybe you have waited for permission that never came, for gratitude that never arrived. Maybe you have given until there was nothing left, but your name on a bill no one would claim. And maybe one day you walked away. If you did, tell me. Tell me what made you choose yourself. Tell me how it felt the first time the silence did not hurt. Tell me what freedom tastes like in your life. Leave a comment below and share your story, because I believe you are not alone, and neither am I.